Farmweek is a production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, it's our first show of 2013, and we'll have a special feature story edition for you. The exotic Asian carp is spreading in the Mississippi River and its tributaries. It seems to spread easily in any moving water like rivers and streams.
We'll have two southern gardening segments. Winter cassia is a beautiful blooming winter shrub that enjoys full sunlight. Winter berries are another way to have cool season color. They also provide food for wildlife.
Our first story today is about a rapidly growing Mississippi group that is tapping into the thirst for knowledge on sustainable living and sustainable farming. It's called the Gaining Ground Sustainability Institute of Mississippi.
We've got about 5 chapters going on all over the state. We do a conference every year that brings in about 200 people, usually every year, and we change the place every time so that we can hit a different audience. And we're very involved with a newsletter that has over 1,300 people reading it right now.
Good day, everyone. I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artis Ford. Welcome to Farm Week, a feature story edition of our show once again.
And it is our first show of the new year 2013, so Happy New Year to each and every one of you from all of us.
Well, it's hard to believe 2013, it's not all that far from 2015.
That's true. In 2012, with just the blink of an eye.
They're speeding up. They are speeding up. Well, Leighton, in today's first story, Farm Week's Amy Taylor reports on a rapidly growing new organization called Gaining Ground Sustainability Institute of Mississippi. With a rising interest in healthier living and improving our land and energy resources, GGSIM is educating the state about sustainability. The organization spreads its message by holding conferences, traveling to schools, and taking part in public events. It even has its own farm bus.
With growing awareness of the need to live healthier and protect the environment, Mississippi is taking sustainable living to a whole new level. Gaining Ground Sustainability Institute for Mississippi, founded by Mike and Allison Bueller, is helping communities develop a new way of life.
We moved back to Mississippi after living in Knoxville, Tennessee, and in Knoxville we had a lot of local food and alternative energy, and it was just pretty common there. And so when we moved back, we were looking for that community again, and then those kind of things. We wanted to put solar panels on our house and couldn't find anyone to do it in the whole state. So we thought surely we're not the only ones that are concerned about these issues, and we started Gaining Ground basically around our kitchen table.
My wife and I came up with this crazy idea back in 2010 to have an institute that addresses issues of sustainability. Sustainability issues are going to become more and more important in the coming years with energy inputs, be it oil or gas or fertilizers are going to become more expensive, and we got to experience what $4 a gallon gasoline feels like, and that translates into everything, including agriculture, construction, architecture.
Our mission is to build a sustainable Mississippi, and the way we do that is by pulling people together and networking throughout the state. So we identify what sustainable initiatives are going on in Mississippi already, we make connections among those, and then we expand on those. We've got chapters all over the state now. We've got about 5 chapters going on all over the state. We do a conference every year that brings in about 200 people, usually every year, and we change the place every time so that we can hit a different audience. And we're very involved with a newsletter that has over 1,300 people reading it right now.
Additionally, Gaining Ground began publishing the annual Journal of Sustainable Living, filled with inspiring stories and information. Allison Bueller says sustainability is defined as meeting our current needs without sacrificing the ability for future generations to meet their needs. This includes supporting local businesses, recycling, reducing chemicals in food products, and conserving water and energy resources. Mike Bueller emphasizes the importance of reusing materials we often throw out.
You can use a lot of the things that you have, in your yard or on your farm to recycle those and bring those back into the process of growing food and raising your livestock. Everything that you normally would throw out, like your leaves that come out of your tree, your lawn clippings. Of course, we raise chickens and we keep all our chicken manure here. Cardboard, plastic, all the things that everyone should recycle. But just all the organic matter essentially that accumulates and a lot of times just gets put on the curb can all be recycled and put back into your soil to keep it fertile.
Bueller says these practices will benefit not only our health, but secure healthy land resources for the future. Furthermore, Gaining Ground State Board Vice President Mandy Sanders says the organization wants to help communities learn from each other.
What Gaining Ground is trying to do is to connect these farmers in Mississippi that are using these sustainable methods to let them learn from each other and also to connect them to the consumer.
To help fund this initiative, Sanders says Gaining Ground celebrated its very first annual Farm to Table dinner.
I had really had this vision for a farm to table dinner in Starkville. We have so many great farmers in the area and new farmers and young farmers that I just thought it would be a great way to highlight it. So when we were brainstorming fundraising ideas, I just knew it would be a perfect fit. We have lots of local produce, lots of heirloom tomatoes and lots of heirloom baby vegetables, squash, green beans. We have goat. We also have goat's milk that was turned into ice cream and cheese. We have cow's milk that was made into cheese. So just an extreme variety. We have lots of herbs, flowers, just pretty much anything.
Sanders says proceeds will go toward various Gaining Ground activities, such as providing hands-on education. For example, what was a school bus has been repurposed into the Mississippi Mobile Farm, fueled mainly on vegetable oil. Allison Bueller says the bus travels around the state to schools, festivals, and expos to educate communities about sustainable living.
Everything's on the bus. So we have a rain barrel on the bus. We have plants that are growing on the bus. We've got a worm bin. Sometimes we'll bring a chicken to school and eggs. We have a honeybee hive so kids can see those things up close. Kids can walk through and they can smell herbs and touch herbs and taste tomatoes right off the plant. And really a lot of kids haven't had that experience.
In addition, Gaining Ground is bringing fresh, healthy food products to local schools by launching a program called Fresh Start.
The farmer brings the food to them, a local farmer that I can go out and visit his land and see what he's doing, what kind of practices he's employing. And it keeps money in the community. And the cook was very excited about preparing fresh food. Most cooks in the kitchen now are just heating up processed food that's frozen. Anything that had, high fructose corn syrup was out. Anything that was white rice or things like white bread, we turned to whole wheat, whole grain. Just made some good changes.
Bueller says Fresh Start has actually saved some money, and she hopes to bring the program to more schools. Sam McLemore, who operates Bountiful Harvest Farms of Starkville, has found a unique way to promote sustainable living.
I grow produce for currently 10 families in Starkville. This summer we'll be expanding to 20 families here in Starkville, and again growing organic produce, and they get a share or a piece of my vegetable garden each week. They receive a bag full of vegetables. So personal gardener is what you could consider me for these families. And I'm growing just a wide variety of vegetables, from peas to beans, asparagus, blueberries, lettuce, kale, cucumbers, tomatoes, and the list goes on and on.
McLemore says Gaining Ground has been a tremendous help in connecting him with other farmers and consumers.
We're on the beginning of a wave of new young gardeners, young farmers that are able to really make an effect across the nation and across the world to feed everyone. The world is growing and everybody needs to eat, so we should all eat healthy. And so I'm trying to do my part in providing healthy produce for happy people. One person asked me that stopped by the garden, "Man, are you crazy out here growing vegetables out in the wide open? You're just going to be feeding Starkville." And I said, that's probably a good idea. I think the more people I can feed, the better.
As communities pull together to secure healthy lifestyles, Gaining Ground Sustainability Institute for Mississippi can look forward to a bright future in bringing new life to sustainable living. From Starkville, Mississippi, I'm Amy Taylor reporting.
Go to our Farmweek website if you'd like to see this story again. That's farmweek.msucares.com. You'll also see it on YouTube and Facebook. We'll also have other links and contact information on Gaining Ground on our website and Facebook pages. And Leighton, an update on that, GGSIM will be holding its 4th annual spring conference. That's the first weekend of March. It will be in Oxford at the United Methodist Church, just off the square there. Self-sufficiency, growing food sustainably, raising chickens, home-scale energy management. There's all sorts of things on the agenda, and we will have a link on our Facebook page and the website where you can get it if you're interested in going to the conference and getting in touch with GGSIM.
Thanks, Artis. Well, time now for today's trivia quiz on Farm Week. This question is designed to illustrate land use in Mississippi. It's about soybean production. How many acres of soybeans were harvested in Mississippi in 2012? Is the answer 915,000 acres, 1.1 million acres, 1.5 million acres, or 2 million acres? We'll have the answer after today's Southern Gardening segments.
Well, how would you like loads of bright yellow flowers even in the cold months? Well, in this week's first Southern Gardening segment, Extension horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman shows us how winter cassia can provide lots of fall and winter color in the South.
A garden event I look forward to each year is when the winter cassia begin blooming. Wherever it's planted in the landscape, the tropical-looking flowers are sure to create winter interest. Winter cassia is certainly one of those show-stopping plants, especially considering the prolific blooms in the winter season. This specimen is a fantastic example of the impact of winter cassia. Imagine sitting on the porch on a cool day enjoying the mass of bright yellow flowers. Beginning in November, the flowers are displayed in spike-like clusters, each having up to 12 individual blossoms. The clusters form towards the branch tips. Planting in the full sun will reward you with the best flower production. Each individual flower has 5 petals and is almost 1.5 inches in diameter. Even the center of the flower is elegant. The curves of the pistil and stamens add to the flower's beauty. The compound foliage is interesting and consists of 3 to 5 pairs of oval-shaped leaflets. The foliage is a deep green in the summer, but with falling temperatures, these leaflets display a greenish yellow. Winter cassia should be considered a hardy perennial into at least zone 8 and will freeze back and regrow the following spring. With winter cassia for our landscapes, who says we don't have great fall and winter color in Mississippi? I'm horticulturist Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Well, how can you add color and interest to the winter landscape without blooms? In our second Southern Gardening segment, Gary Bachman shows us colorful berries are a good way to brighten your landscape and feed the birds.
In the winter months, gardeners need to rely on plants with features besides flowers for color interest. Plants that produce colorful berries can enhance the winter landscape. Pyracantha is a landscape plant that almost drips large numbers of orange berries that hang in heavy clusters. The common name for pyracantha is firethorn, and it certainly lives up to this name with the sharp thorns on almost all of the branches. Native hollies all have red berries, and the Yaupon holly may have the most interesting. The berries are a translucent red that give the impression of having depth. The branches and stems are a bright gray color that provides a nice contrast to the berries. This specimen of weeping Yaupon holly has the added interest of its downward arching branches. The botanical name of Yaupon holly is Ilex vomitoria. I think you can guess what the native peoples used this plant for. Red and orange seem to be the dominant berry colors most widely available, but a winter favorite of mine is the American beautyberry. This Mississippi native shrub, commonly found along the edges of wooded areas, should be used more in the home landscape. The berries are a bright, shiny purple displayed in clusters all along the arching stems. Besides adding beauty to our landscapes, Plants that produce berries also play an important role as a winter food source for wildlife. I'm Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Gary says that berries are a good example of adding color to a winter garden without trying to use a blooming plant.
Well, time now for the answer to today's trivia quiz on Farm Week. This question was designed to illustrate land use in Mississippi. How many acres of soybeans were harvested in Mississippi in 2012? Well, the answer is almost 2 million acres, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
We're going to pause now for a break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll have the calendar and one more feature story for you. The Asian carp, this foreign invader, was first imported into Arkansas. It escaped from there and now it's infesting the Mississippi River and its tributaries.
MSU-Cares.com is a popular website offering coordinated access to Mississippi State University's research and extension system. Now we have a Spanish language version of MSU-Cares.com where you'll find newsletters, brochures, and publications. Plus, you can view Spanish language videos on topics including credit, finances, and immunization. Visit MSU-Cares.com today and click on the En Español link for useful Spanish language information.
Well, before we get back to our last story, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. The 57th Annual Tri-State Soybean Forum takes place in Mississippi this year. The date's Friday, January 4th, and the hours are 8 a.m. to noon. Registration is free and lunch is included. Handling herbicide-resistant weeds, insect control, and marketing the 2013 crop are on the agenda. The 23rd Mississippi-Louisiana Dairy Management Conference is Thursday, January 10th. It will be at its usual location at the Southwest Events Center on Highway 48 East at Tylertown, Mississippi. Hours are 8:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Managing dairy cow lameness, moles, and mycotoxins in feeds, federal policies, and 2013 market agendas are on the agenda. The Delta Ag Expo is moving up a week this year. It takes place Wednesday and Thursday, January 16th and 17th. The location is the Bolivar County Expo Center in Cleveland. Go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now check out this week's Farm Week Snapshot.
Our last story today is about Asian carp. No, these foreign fish aren't being sold in the U.S., but their introduction into the Mississippi River years ago is causing big problems now. The fish are displacing the native species in the Mississippi and its tributaries, and there's even concern they may spread into the Great Lakes. Controlling Asian carp seems to be a hopeless dream, but many say perhaps this fish could be a commercial commodity. Market to Market's Josh Bittner reports.
During the summer, myriad outdoor opportunities are in full bloom across America. For boating enthusiasts, sunshine and rising temperatures present a chance to cut loose on the water. But for some Midwest mariners, the whir of a boat motor can cue a most unusual phenomenon. Asian carp, an invasive species capable of decimating native fish populations, have used the Mississippi River as a superhighway, threatening to infiltrate every nook and cranny of her tributaries. Bighead and silver, two of the 4 varieties of the Yangtze River natives, have become a major nuisance in the central U.S.
The silver carp are known for their ability to jump out of the water when they're spooked. Prop noise from a boat or even the hull noise of the boat splashing in the water can cause these fish to jump out of the water. It's a defense mechanism that the fish have to get away from danger. Folks have seen the videos of those fish jumping up into boats. People have been injured where a fish has jumped out of the water and crossed their path.
Imported to clean algae from Arkansas catfish farms in the 1970s, these malign fish, revered in Asian culture as symbols of hard work and perseverance, escaped, due to flooding, into nearby waterways, meandering into the Mississippi River. Over the years, their numbers have grown into a massive horde.
The carp are prolific breeders. One female can hatch up to 4 million eggs per year. They eat constantly. They can double their weight in a week. There aren't any natural predators that eat them when they're small because they grow too fast.
Ironically, silver carp pose their greatest threat to people during their smaller juvenile stage of development. Biologists assure the fish are no longer prone to jump once they weigh over 10 pounds. Their diet, however, is another matter.
So this is a silver carp. They get much bigger than this. They filter the water for zooplankton, which is a critical food link for most of our native fish.
The Illinois River has borne the brunt of Asian carp. The aquatic barbarians are now storming the gates of Lake Michigan via the Chicago Sanitary and Ship Canal, which connects the two bodies of water. Though the fish are known for spawning in rivers as opposed to lake environments, the federal government isn't willing to play that hunch. To tackle the issue nationwide, the Obama administration has appointed a carp czar of sorts in John Goss, former director of the Indiana Department of Natural Resources. Goss's own state has fielded similar threats in the Wabash River, which connects to Lake Erie. The centerpiece for deterrence is an electrical barrier in Chicago. A series of electrodes across the bottom of the canal send low-voltage electricity into the water. When fish approach the electrical field, they are repelled back downstream. Manufacturers and proponents insist the levels are safe for fish and humans, but standard warnings are in place.
The problem is you're not going to be able to engineer your way around a biological problem.
Along with a partner in Illinois, Dr. Timothy Leeds of Ames, Iowa, had hatched an early plan to stave off Asian carp before Illinois' recent financial woes.
We initially had a plant set up in Havana, Illinois, and it was more of a show and smell plant than anything else. Take the carp in, process them, convince your neighbors that it doesn't reek.
Originally earmarked in the Illinois legislature, funds vanished. Until this week, when state officials endorsed another plan to tackle the problem. Strengthening their resolve, Leeds and his associate are seeking private investors for a new plan, not necessarily in Illinois. Incidentally, the doctor's adopted home state of Iowa has begun to see its share of Asian carp within her borders.
We're constantly documenting the spread of Asian carp throughout the state. They're really prevalent in our larger river systems.
The record flooding in 2011 on the Missouri River, itself a Mississippi tributary, emboldened bighead and silver carp to venture into northwest Iowa, knocking on the door of Iowa's Great Lakes, a popular recreational destination. Practically a microcosm for the national struggle, the chain of 6 glacial lakes is connected to the Missouri via the Little Sioux River and Mill Creek at the Lower Gar Spillway. Asian carp were first landed in the lake chain in August 2011. A wave of stewardship promptly followed in their wake.
We basically raised $700,000 in about 3 months.
Fearing a ruined regional economy, citizens and local business owners petitioned the Iowa legislature to appropriate money for a blockade. When that fell victim to political gridlock, the Iowa Department of Natural Resources stepped up, allocating $300,000.
We don't think that these fish can reproduce in a natural lake. So if that's the only way for their numbers to increase is during these flood events, then putting some type of a barrier in place on the downstream side of the Iowa Great Lakes is one way that would prevent them from moving upstream.
I guess my thought on the electrical barrier is it's kind of like chicken soup. I'm not sure that it's going to help, but it certainly won't hurt.
Though viewed by many as a scourge, niche markets do exist for carp. Stoller Fisheries in nearby Spirit Lake, Iowa, has been processing freshwater rough fish since 1932.
We're something like a slaughterhouse for beef or cattle. They're reduced to the edible parts and the inedible parts. Most of it is mechanically deboned, so it looks like hamburger when it comes out. The product is very acceptable for making fish sticks, fish patties. Our primary customers are in the kosher industry. They're making a Jewish traditional product called gefilte fish.
Should bighead or silver carp gain a foothold in Iowa's Great Lakes, Stoller assures they are set up to handle an onslaught.
We are set up. In fact, we've been processing Asian carp from the Illinois area for probably 5 or 6 years. If there were fish in these lakes, we would process them, yes, but we're not welcoming them into the area.
On the positive side, silver carp and bighead carp are very good to eat. The common carp have been here since the 1880s. They're mucking up on the bottom. These don't. They're eating the same thing that really salmon eats.
What is the other choice for carp? In Asia, they eat 6 times as much fish as we do, and carp for them is a delicacy. If we could get the carp back to Asia, there's a major market for the fish there. The only thing that's ever been shown to help with carp is to overfish them. But you can't overfish them if you don't have an end market. So we're trying to create an end market from scratch.
For Market to Market, I'm Josh Bittner.
So there you go, Leighton. Another problem, potential, but once again, if we can overfish them, maybe we can knock them back. But still, it just goes to show you have to watch what you bring in because it can cause problems later.
In a hurry.
Well, we are at the end of Farm Week, excuse me, for this week. On our next show, the Magnolia Honey Company.
This Southwest Mississippi gourmet food firm is making waves beyond its Woodville hometown. Its 3 women owners are turning out products that are winning national awards, and they're all sweetened with Mississippi honey.
In Southern gardening, Satsuma oranges. Not everyone can grow them, but it is possible in the South. For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artis Ford.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week, and Happy New Year.